For this section, we're going to be working with fill and stroke attributes. We're going to go ahead and close the transform panel for right now just to keep their desktop a little bit cleaner. And we're going to, because we're not using it, I'm going to be hiding the corner widgets. And to do that, I simply need to go to View and Hide Corner Widgets. Next, I'm going to go to Window and open my Swatches panel. If your Swatches panel comes up listing names rather than a series of little dots, all you need to do is change the view from name view to thumbnail view, and you can work in either mode, whichever one is going to work better for you. At the top of the stroke panel, we have another proxy. It looks just like the one that's over here in your Tools panel, but this is the one we will use most often because you can control very easily which colors you're going to use and whether you're going to be applying it to the fill or to the stroke. We're going to bring the stroke forward because we're going to be working with that first. With any of the rectangles selected, select the CMYK cyan swatch, and you will see that the stroke changes to the color that was selected. Because the stroke icon is active in the Tools panel, the color of the selected object stroke or border changes to the cyan. In the Tools or Swatches panel, click the Fill icon and bring it to the front of the stack. In the Swatches panel, click the black swatch in the first row. Now, with that still active and still selected, we can go over here to the Tools panel and select the Swap Fill and Stroke option, and now we have a blue cyan fill with a black stroke. It's hard to see the black stroke because it is only a one-point stroke. We can go to Stroke to open up the Stroke panel. Let's go to Window and Stroke. And we do need to expand this, show options, and you'll be able to see all the different options that are available. We can change the weight, we can change the way that the caps are for the ends of lines, we can change how our corners look, and whether the stroke is aligned to the center, to the inside, or to the outside. We also have the ability to make dashed lines and arrowheads, and I'm giving you way more information than you really need to know right now. We're going to change the stroke to a 5-point stroke. You can actually, let me go back and reselect this, and we're going to change this to a 5-point stroke. You can type it in or you can use the drop down. Now we're going to use the eyedropper tool, so we're going to select one of the other rectangles and we're going to use the eyedropper tool. It looks just like an eyedropper. There it is. We're going to click that, and all we have to do is select the rectangle that we just completed, and we are carrying over the attributes that we gave it to the next rectangle. So now let's go back to the second rectangle, and we're going to change this to the magenta swatch for the fill color. Using the selection tool, select the bottom left rectangle, and let's take a look at the appearance in the property panel. We have the fill, the stroke. Fill is white, the stroke is black, 1 point, and we're going to change the stroke weight here to 5 points. Click the fill swatch in the properties panel, and you'll get a pop-up that has the same swatches in it that we have in the Swatches panel. If you're not seeing this particular layout and you see a bunch of sliders instead, then you're going to need to change this. There's the color mixer mode, and then there are the swatches mode, and we need to be in the swatches. And then you're going to select the CMYK yellow swatch to fill that. Selecting the bottom right rectangle in the control panel this time, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to go and change this to a 5-point stroke, and you're going to select the fill colors up at the top, and we're going to fill this with an orange. Let's see, which one are we supposed to use? The light orange swatch in the second row. Okay, so it's going to be this one way over here. And then you can save your file. Every shape we create in Illustrator is a separate object. We can edit those shapes at any time, but the more objects you add, the more complex the file can be to manage. Layers are a very helpful way to organize your artwork so you can find something easier when you need to. We're going to first of all make sure that all of the items are deselected, so just click off to the side, or you can go up to select and choose deselect and everything will be deselected. We're going to pick up our layers panel, which is located here next to your properties. You can also, if you don't see it, go to window and choose layers to show that. If the layers panel comes up collapsed and just says layer 1, all you need to do is click on the little drop down and you'll get to see all 4 of these. Now the cool thing about this is the stacking order for everything that we've drawn. So if I were to take, say, this pink or the magenta square and move this over, you can see how the other 2 squares are on top and the blue one is beneath it. That is your stacking order. I'm going to undo that. Control Z will undo. We can collapse this down. We're going to change the name of this layer by double clicking on it to background and enter to accept that change, and then we're going to lock this layer so that we don't make any changes to it, and then we're going to hide this layer by turning off the eye. Now we're going to the bottom of the panel. There's a little plus sign way down here at the bottom. We're going to click on that, and that's going to create a new layer for us. So everything we're going to be drawing on here is going to go onto another layer. Double click that layer 2 name and we're going to change the name to icons. And if you double click the thumbnail, you can open up the Layer Options dialog box. The Options dialog box allows you to change the color. It's nothing that prints, it's just something that's there for easy identification, but there's a whole listing of colors that you can choose from if you don't like the color that comes up. We can make the layer a template layer, which means it's for putting images on that you're going to trace. Lock and show have the same effect. We can lock it, we can show it, just it's the same thing as the locks and the eyeballs up there. We can preview the layer, which is just a status on how you're being able to look at it, whether it's going to have the fills and strokes on it. And we have dim images so that if you put something on it, you can have those objects lighter. We're going to change the color of this to green, and you can see how that's going to change that, and click OK. And now you see this color, and anything that we draw on here is going to have a bounding box that's going to match that color. Just like on our first layer, all the bounding boxes that we had were blue. The next thing we're going to do is to import some items and turn them into templates. We want to get rid of our rulers for right now. We don't need them, so go to View and you're going to hide your rulers. Make sure that your artboard is fitting in the window, and then we're going to place some images. So if we go File, Place, and in our Icons folder we're going to look for the Art Icons JPEG and select that file. At the bottom of this dialog box we want to check the template options and make sure the link option is also selected. The placed file, when it's linked, doesn't actually become part of the actual file we're working on. We're accessing the file where it is. If we don't have this checked for link, it's going to be embedded and it makes the file really large. So we don't need that. And if we select place, it's going to bring in our drawing that is a JPEG file, so it is a raster image, and we're going to trace those pieces so that we can use them. Now if you look in the layer panel, you'll see on this layer we have it locked. It's got a little square instead of an eyeball, and you can see that that linked image is placed on that layer. Double click the thumbnail for the new layer and change the dim field from 50% to 25%, which is going to make it really light. And then you're going to change the order of this. We're going to take this template layer and we're going to drag this down so that it is below the backgrounds layer. You see that heavy blue line? That moves it, so that I just changed the stacking order. Select the icons layer, so that layer is now active so that our drawings will all be done on there. You can click off to the side to deselect the template and then save your file.